it's Ashley Cristo, and I am back with another video. Today I am here to do my July TBR. As you guys know, I usually make my TBRs completely and totally outlandish, and I usually don't finish everything on my TBR, but it is a good way for me to kind of gauge what I really want to focus on for the month. So like June's TBR, this TBR is going to focus on me making sure that I am reading as diversely as possible while still participating in a couple of readathons, read-alongs, and buddy reads. So we're going to do this in sections. We're going to go ahead and start with the Pop Culture Readathon. So the Pop Culture Readathon is going to take place from July 1st to July 31st, and it is being hosted by Whitney over at Life With Me and Lo over at Reading Parent, and this is an ode to pop culture, 90s themed pop culture. I am a 90s baby, so I'm excited to participate in this one. There were 4 boards that we could choose from. There was Thriller, Family Affair, Teenage Dream, and the Adult Table. I went through and looked at these for like 2 weeks and finally decided that I was going to participate by using the Family Affair board. So instead of just doing bingo, my crazy behind decided that I wanted to complete every prompt on the Family Affair board. So I'm going to go through and tell you guys each of the prompts and then show you what book I'm going to be reading for those prompts. The first challenge is Matilda, one of my favorite movies, and it's to read a middle grade book. For this, I'm going to be reading Apple in the Middle by Dawn Quigley. This is a middle grade book about a young girl by the name of Apple who is half white and half Native American, and she decides to give up all of her heritage, all of her Native American heritage, after someone uses a racial slur for someone who is white and Native American. So one summer after her wealthy father gives her the boot, she agrees to go spend time on the Turtle Mountain Indian Reservation in northern North Dakota, where she experiences some cultural shock, but she learns a lot about herself and about her mother and where she comes from. And I just read for the month of June, I had just read I Can Make This Promise, which is also about a young girl who learns more about her Native American heritage. So I'm super excited to pick up this one. I am trying to read more books with Indigenous representation, and I saw that this one was available for me to have sneak peek into my library book haul, and I thought that I would check it out. The next one is The Addams Family, which is a found family trope, and for that I picked up Fruit Basket by Natsuki Takaya, and this is the 20th anniversary editions, I think, the collector's editions. I could be so wrong about the date on that. This is about a young girl by the name of Toru, and Toru's mother ends up passing away, so she decides to move into a tent, and when she moves into the tent, she finds out that she's actually living on someone else's land, and it is this family of guys that have some affiliation with the Chinese zodiac. I know exactly what happens, but I don't want to spoil it for anyone. This is a manga series that I have read up to volume 4 of, but I decided to start collecting these editions, and I want to read these editions, so I'll be rereading volume 1 and 2 in this bind up this month. The third challenge is Kevin McAllister, and it's to read a standalone, and for that I picked up Full Disclosure by Cameron Garrett. I talked about this a little bit in my library book haul, but this is about a young lady by the name of Simone who is HIV positive, and she's interested in dating, and she has this crush on this guy, and they end up actually dating, and she is getting nervous because she does have to tell him about her status. But before she gets that opportunity, someone threatens to out her and let him know about her status. So I think this is about that entire journey. I've seen a couple people comment on some of my videos and say that they really enjoyed this novel, so I'm definitely looking forward to picking this one up. The next challenge is Welcome to Good Burger, and this is to read a book that is food related, whether that's the title, the cover, or the plot. So of course I picked up Food Wars Volume 10 by Yuto Tsukuda. I have talked about this a lot on my channel. I still need to finish my reread of volumes 8 and 9, and then I'll be able to pick up volume 10. The next challenge is The Parent Trap, and that's also one of my favorite movies, both of them, both the 1960s version and the one with Lindsay Lohan. So this challenge is to read a book with more than one author, and I am going to be reading A Phoenix First Must Burn, and this is edited by Patricia Caldwell and has a whole series of authors, including people like Elizabeth Acevedo and Daniel Page. And this is 16 short stories of speculative fiction written by Black women and gender non-conforming authors. So I've heard nothing but good things about it. I think that it's going to be interesting. I heard that most of the stories are good, and I haven't read a short story collection in a while, so I'm looking forward to picking this one up. The next challenge is Space Jam, and that is to read a sci-fi book. I am going to go ahead and start my reread of Saga. I am so nervous, y'all. I'm super nervous to start my reread of Saga because I know that by the time I make it to volume 9, my heart's going to be completely broken, but I am trying to prepare myself for it, and in order to do that, I do want to do a reread. I've already read Saga Volume 1 twice, so this will be my third time reading it, and I'm sure everybody knows what Saga is at this point. It is a well-known science fiction comic book series written by Brian K. Vaughan. The next challenge is Jumanji, one of my favorite Robin Williams movies, and it is to read a book set in a wild landscape, and for that I chose Wings of Fire, The Dark Secret. This is the 4th book in the series. If you've never heard of Wings of Fire, it is a middle grade fantasy series in which the dragons are the main characters. It's about this dragonette prophecy in which 5 dragons are supposed to stop the wars between the different kingdoms of dragons. And so you have these 5 dragonettes, and each one of these books is told from one of their perspectives, and in each book we are visiting the kingdom that they're associated with. So there are different clans of dragons, and each one of them has special powers associated with them, or special features, and then they have certain alliances, and then they all have certain queens, and all this has to do with these queens that are fighting each other because one of them wants to be the queen, and the dragonettes will kind of help settle that. So you have like the sand wings, the mud wings, sky wings, sea wings, ice wings, and rain wings, and night wings, and this one is specifically about the Nightwing Kingdom. The next challenge is Now and Then, which is such a good movie. I love Now and Then, and it's to read a book with multiple timelines or POVs, and for this I am choosing Hello Universe by Erin Entrada Kelly, and this book is about 4 middle schoolers who don't necessarily go to the same school, but there is a kid by the name of Chet who's a bully, and he bullies Virgil and his guinea pig, and he does something that sets some things into motion and brings all 4 of these middle school kids together. I know that this won the Newbery Award, but I can't remember what representation is in this book. I believe that one of the characters is hard of hearing or deaf. I cannot remember. I know that Tammy has read this book and she really enjoyed it, but I'm excited to finally be able to pick it up. The next challenge is Little Rascals, and that's to read a book with 200 pages or less, and for that I have chosen The Unsung Hero of Birdsong USA by Brenda Woods, and this is about a boy by the name of Gabriel, and Gabriel loves his town of Birdsong, and he's riding his bike through town one day and he almost gets into this accident with a car, but then Mr. Merriweather actually ends up saving him, and they build this relationship because they both end up working at Gabriel's father's auto shop, and Mr. Merriweather lets it slip one day that he was a part of the 761st Tank Battalion, which is the Black Panthers. So Gabriel doesn't understand why Mr. Merriweather is not regarded as a war hero like his uncle was, and he ends up learning some unfortunate truths about the Black Panther Party and also about his town of Birdsong. This is one that I have not seen anybody pick up, but I know that this is one that I think I will enjoy. Brenda Woods is well known for a lot of things that she has written. I think she's won the Coretta Scott King Award as well, so she's a well-recognized author. The next challenge, Thomas J, is to read a tearjerker, and for that I chose Black Girl Unlimited by Echo Brown. I have talked about this. I've seen a couple people say that this book has made them tear up and cry, and I can absolutely believe it. This is about a character by the name of Echo who goes from the, and I can never get this right, goes from the east side of Cleveland to the west side of Cleveland, and there are these magic portals. It's a lot of magical realism, and I think it's about escaping everything that's been happening in the east side of Cleveland. I know there are a few trigger warnings for this book. I can't remember exactly what they are. I know a couple people have told me, but I know that there are trigger warnings and that this magical system may be a means for Echo to deal with the trauma that is going on. So this is one that I am definitely looking forward to picking up because it is semi-autobiographical. I know that a couple people have read this and really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to dig into it. The next challenge is Wednesday Addams, and is to read a book with a dark cover, and for that I chose Mirage by Samaya Dodd. The second book to this series comes out this year. I've had this book sitting on my shelf for such a long time. I actually got this in an Owl Crate box, and it is a signed copy, and I still haven't read it, so I thought this would be the perfect time to pick it up. This is a story about a girl by the name of Amani who is taken to the, I don't want to say this wrong, the Thek kingdom, in which she poses as a double for the queen, for the princess, whose name is Maram, and the princess is not a nice individual. Her conquered people hate her so much that she has to have a double who ends up being Amani because they want to kill her so badly. And for lack of a better word, Amani is kept captive in this kingdom, but she's enjoying herself. She's very enthralled with the princess's fiance, but she knows that if she wants to see her family again, she has to play her cards right, because anything that she does wrong can inevitably lead up to her death. The next challenge is the Mighty Ducks, and that's to read a book with a competition, and for that I'm going to be reading Food Wars Volume 11. Of course, this has a competition. It's Food Wars. It's about having shokugekis. I wanted to use as many of these as I could because I'm trying to read so many of these by the end of the year. So this has just been a perfect month for me to line myself up to read these volumes. Now, for this next challenge, I cheated a little bit. It is Addams Family Values, and you're supposed to read a domestic thriller, but I didn't have any domestic thrillers that I wanted to read, so I just picked up a mystery, and that is Bluebird by Attica Locke. This is the one that I've also had on my shelves for a while that I have not had the opportunity to pick up, and it is about a man by the name of Darren Matthews, who's a Black Texas Ranger, and it talks about his experience of being Black and living in Texas. And while he has personal stuff that's kind of going haywire, he gets called to this case where a Black man and a white woman have both been murdered, and to prevent a racial uprising in this town, he has to figure out what happened in this case. This is the first book in a series, I believe. I don't know how many books are in the series, but this won the Edgar Award, which is for mysteries, so I have a feeling that this is going to be good, and I've heard nothing but good things about Attica Locke. The next one is Dr. Dolittle, and that is to read a book with a character that has a special gift, and for this I'll be reading, I believe, issues 2 and 3 of BB Free, written by Gabby Rivera, and this is a comic book series. The first volume, the bind up, doesn't come out till October, but I've been read the first single issue earlier this year, and it is about a girl by the name of BB who lives in this weird altered world. Like it's not like fractured, but there was this disease that wiped off half of the population. So she lives in this alternate world, and she has this overbearing father, and she just wants to live her life and do her underground radio broadcast. And then she realizes that she has these powers that she never even realized that she had, and she begins to learn a lot more about her father and the world that she lives in. I really enjoyed the first issue, so I cannot wait to get to issue number 2 and number 3. The next one is You're Killing Me, Smalls, and that is to read a book that involving sports, and for that I'll be reading the Avant-Garde's volume number 2. I read volume number 1 earlier this year and really enjoyed it. It's about this misfit crew of individuals that play basketball at this university, and they're all crap at it, but I loved the representation in this, and this is written by Carly Houston, I believe. I love the representation in this book. There were so many diverse characters, whether that was by race, by gender, by sexual orientation. It was just so much going on, and I really enjoyed everything about it, so I cannot wait to pick up this second volume. The next and last challenge is Billboard Dad, and I just watched that last night. It's crazy. And that's to read a book with matchmaking, and for this one I decided to pick up the audiobook of The Right Swipe by Alicia Rye. And this is about a woman who is the developer of a dating website, and she had a previous relationship with a man and it didn't work out, and then he comes back around and he's asking for a second chance, but of course she's hesitant and weary about that. I've heard great things about this book. I know a lot of people have enjoyed it. I know that Jessica from Peace Love Books enjoyed it, so I really trust her judgment when it comes to romance. And I know that the second one just came out not too long ago, so I think this one is going to be an interesting ride for me. Alright y'all, so the next thing that I'm going to be participating in is the PopCulture, which is hosted by Noria over at Noria Reads, and she has been doing an amazing job just coming up with lists for all of these different categories, and this is a way for us to disregard and to fight back against a lot of isms, is what I like to call them. So there is fuck ableism, fuck ageism, fuck white supremacy, fuck capitalism, and Noria has come out with lists for each one of these categories, so I'll make sure I link all the information down below. And she also came up with a bingo card, so I am going to be choosing 3 for this bingo card, and the first one that I'll be reading is Fuck White Supremacy, and that's to read a book that challenges the white supremacy ideology. And for that I chose Child of the Dream, Turning 13 in 1963, and this is by Sharon Robinson. This is a non-fiction memoir about her experience growing up in 1963 and turning 13, and how 1963 was such a pivotal year in the civil rights movement. It was the same year that George Wallace declared segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. How this year started one of the most pivotal eras in American history. I did not realize that she is the daughter of Jackie Robinson, but this is more so about her experience and going through like puberty and everything. Wow, so much other things were happening in the world. I can only imagine what that was like. This is a short one. I think the audiobook is only 5 hours, so I'm really excited to get to that one. And I don't think I said this at the beginning. I know I didn't say this at the beginning. The 3 books that I'll be reading for PopCulture are all going to be on audio. The next one that I'll be reading is for Fuck Ableism, and I'll be reading Out of My Mind by Sharon Draper. This is a book about a young girl by the name of Melody who has cerebral palsy, and she cannot walk, nor can she speak, and she combats the challenge of dealing with people who treat her like she's stupid, people who assume that she just can't function, people that assume that she has no enjoyment of life whatsoever. It's about her experience dealing with people and learning that she will not allow cerebral palsy nor anyone else's opinions of her define who she is. As you guys know, I love Sharon Draper, so this is one of her books that I'm excited to get to and listen to in audio. And the last one that I'll be listening to for Fuckathon is Fuck Gentrification, and I'll be reading Pride by E.B. Savoy. I've had this one on my TBR for forever. It is the remix version of Pride and Prejudice, and I don't need to know anything else about this book except that I have an exclusive Owl Crate edition of it, and it is absolutely gorgeous, but I'm not going to be reading it. I'm definitely going to be listening to it on audio. And the last readathon that I'll be participating in is one that I'm actually helping with, and it is the LostAthon that was created by Beth over at Let's Book About It. And this year I was about to say I actually book is wrong. That I am helping with the daily questions that'll be happening throughout the readathon, because it goes from July 1st to July 31st. So there'll be daily questions on my Twitter channel. So if you want to see those daily questions and participate, check below in the description box and follow me over on Twitter. It was also helped designed by Jody over at One Girl Reads, and then D over at D19. So this is such a fun readathon where there is a bingo board, and the theme for this readathon is diverse reads. So there are a series of different things that you can do in order to participate. The challenges are stackable, so you can pick one book that fits all 5 challenges. You have to complete 5 of the challenges to win the readathon. So I have one row that I'm going to be focusing on, and I will make sure that I link all the vital information down in the description box. But the first challenge that I will be attempting to fulfill is Black Speculative Fiction, and for that I'll be reading Nalo Hopkinson's Midnight Robber. I'm also using this as a buddy read for a group of us that were on quarantine pages after Nalo was interviewed by Injiri over at Onyx Pages. We all agreed that we wanted to read Midnight Robber, so we're going to read it this month and then talk about it in August. So it was perfect that I'm using it for that. That is part of that buddy read, and that I'll be using it for LostAthon. The next challenge is to pick a book with a message, and picking a book with a message simply means that you're going to pick a book that you know is going to move you or has vital information in it. And I am going to go with Black Girl Unlimited by Echo Brown. This is one that I'm using for the PopCulture Readathon, and I thought I could use it for LostAthon as well. For the last 3 challenges of this readathon, which are diverse author, women of color, and mythology, I'm going to use one book, and that is going to be Arusha and the End of Time by Roshani Chotsky. I did not get to this in the month of June, and I'm so upset about that because I need to read all 3. I have not kept up with the Rick Riordan Presents Readathon at all. Shame on me, but still, I need to get to this book, and I'm excited to get to this book, and I've been meaning to start it for forever. Okay, y'all, so that's it. Those are the 3 readathons that I'll be participating in. There are a couple of books outside of that, though, that I do want to read if that's not enough books. That's why I said, y'all, I always read more than what I really need to read, but there are a couple of things that I do need to get done in addition to that stuff. I do need to finish the rest of the Arusha trilogy. I don't know how this is going to work out because I'm going to show you the books that I also need to read for the Rick Riordan Presents Readathon. So yeah, so I'm behind because I didn't read the Arusha books last month. And then on top of that, I'm supposed to be reading Sal and Gabby Break the Universe, and then the next book in this series, which is Sal and Gabby Fix the Universe. My copy of Sal and Gabby Fix the Universe should be here sometime this week, but I would need to read this one, and then I would also need to read Dragon Pearl by Yoon Lee. So that technically would be 6 books in the Rick Riordan Presents line. That is me being super realistic. It probably will not happen. I'm probably going to have to extend my read of these books to December of this year, but I would like to push myself to at least try to get through as much as possible. The next book that I have here is not one that I'll be finishing this month, but is one that I want to start this month and read slowly, and that's The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. I've had this book sitting on my shelf for a very, very long time, and I still have not picked it up. I have watched video after video of people who have read Robert Jordan, who have enjoyed this book, who have read the entire series. I know this is the typical fantasy that it seems like everybody has read. I know the fandom for this is really, really huge, but I do want to at least try. I know that I'm not going to finish it this month, but I do at least want to give it a start. The next book that I have is a buddy read for a book that I have read before, but we're both trying to make it through the series, and that is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, and I will be buddy reading this with Jocelyn from Jocelyn Reads. I'll be sure to make sure I link her channel down below. I saw that she was wanting to read Mistborn, and I asked her if she wanted to buddy read because I have read the first book, and I read the first book so long ago I don't remember. Like, you could see I had annotated it, but I couldn't remember anything from it, so I wanted to do a reread before I jumped into the next books, and we agreed that we would read these, and if we got through them quick enough we would just binge them. So I'm excited because I do have the other 2 books, and then I also have the book that's in between before you get to the second arc of the stories, and that is Alloy of Law. So, and this is in the UK paperback version. So I'm excited. I'm hoping that I am able to get to that one. And the very last book, if that was not enough, the very last book that I have on here is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. This is one that I talked about in my mid-year book freakout tag and said that this is one that I wanted to finish. So I did ask y'all as a whole if you wanted to buddy read this book, and if you do want to buddy read this, I have created a Discord for us to read this book because I got so many people who were asking if they could buddy read it. So I created a Discord, and we are going to read this over the course of the next 6 months. So this is not one that we're going to finish in 1 month. What I will do is I will divide this up into sections for us to read, and on the Discord I will just create a channel for each month. So I won't create channels for July, for August, September, October, November, or December, but we'll have a channel for July where we can talk about all things related to the first section. Maybe there'll be a channel for like adaptations or whatever the case may be, but I am super excited to get to this, and I'm super excited that so many of you guys wanted to buddy read it with me. All right, y'all, so that is it. Thank goodness. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired of talking, and I'm tired of, it's just so much stuff. It's just so much stuff. But anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, click the subscribe button. I will make sure that I leave all my social media links down in the description box below. I upload every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with the occasional surprise video sometimes. Let me know if you have heard of any of these books on my TBR, or if you're interested in reading any of them. I'm so happy to talk with you guys in the comments when I can. I try very, very hard to get to the comments as much as I can. Also, let me know in the comments what you plan on reading in July. I love seeing what people are reading. It is the weirdest thing, but let me know. Please let me know. All right, y'all, I'll be back with another video soon. Bye.